Good afternoon. This is a story of Charles E. Andy Anderson, United States Navy, Seaman Recruit to Lieutenant Commander, 1955 until 1977. I was stationed on 5 different ships, and as of this date, I have my wife Dixie, our children David and Karen and Timothy, and grandchildren Laura and Jordan and Gabriel and Hannah and Michelle and Jennifer and Holly, and our great-grandchildren Kristen and Madison and Charles and Theodore and Maximus. Today I'm going to talk about my military history and some sea stories. Starting in 1955, I joined the Navy 6 days out of graduation, and I intended to join the Air Force. However, the Air Force recruiter never showed up. This old Navy chief recruiter showed up, and as a result of him being there, we signed up. My mom didn't think I'd pass a physical due to health injuries caused by polio, but I passed, and my buddy James Jeanette, who was in good health, didn't. My mom thought they mixed up our records. 6 weeks later, the COSAR Crippled Children's Hospital called my mom and asked why she had not brought me in for tests and therapy. And she said I couldn't because he was in the Navy. And they said, that's not possible. He couldn't pass a physical exam. And my mom said, he did. In 1955, in May, I left a recruiting station in Louisville, Kentucky. I was made a temporary acting chief petty officer, given 14 sets of records for the other recruits, and told it was my responsibility to get them to Bainbridge, Maryland, the Recruit Training Command. We rode the train to Washington, D.C., and had several hours stopped to connect to the train to Port Deposit, Maryland, and I went to visit the state capitol with one of the recruits and came back to catch the train. The other 13 recruits were nowhere to be found. I told the train conductor to hold the train until they come. He said, son, I cannot. And then that moment they came running in, and we made it to the training center. I turned in all the records and was relieved of my temporary acting chief petty officer rank. My company was number 208. Boot camp was tolerable. I was strong and had been active on the farm. I walked 2 miles every day to school. Yes, it was uphill both ways. I could not do sit-ups, but I could do pull-ups. So I was able to pass all the physical exams. The only trouble I got into while I was in boot camp was we took a shortcut around a long drill hole and was stopped by a Navy commander who asked if we walked up that path. Yes, sir. What is your name? Anderson, sir. Good, I'll remember that name. You stay here and guard that path. Don't let anybody else come up here. I'll send word when you're relieved. Hours later, a messenger came and said, Commander Anderson says you may now go join your company. I was standing guard one day, and the shore patrol came by and asked if I had AB blood. Yes. AB negative? No. AB positive. So I didn't have to give blood. In August of 1955, I was home from boot camp on leave with the family. Later, I departed for Great Lakes, Illinois, to the Interior Communication Electrician Class A School. That's a 14-week class about ship control indicators and instrument and telephones. I graduated last in my class, and because I was last, I got to go aboard the USS Fort Snelling LSD-30. John Sutu, the class master at arms, was on that ship, and everybody disliked him because he was a fleet sailor and tough as nails. Well, I went to Chicago and had a picture made, and in December 1955, I reported aboard the USS Fort Snelling. You may go on the web to www.ussfortsnellinglsd30.com and see the information about the ship. John Sutu welcomed me with a big smile, and we became great friends. He was an IC-3 and E-3, and I was an ICFA E-1. John messed up the gyro compass, and he made our division officer, Mr. Charles Brown, very mad. Mr. Brown placed me in charge of the gyro compass. I spent almost 4 years on the Fort Snelling, making cruises to the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. In 1956, we were ordered to Alexandria, Egypt to pick up American and British civilian men, women, boys, and girls. And we picked up about 250 of them and took them to the island of Crete, where they were offloaded to the Navy troop ship, the USNS Alexander M. Patch. I received a commendation letter from the commanding officer of Fort Snelling for taking all the cartoons from the 30 cruise movie we had and showing them to the kids we made to entertain them during the voyage. In July 1958, we landed the Marines in Beirut, Lebanon. While there, the rebels fired shots at our ship, and we had to up anchor and move out of range of the small arms fire. One of the crew members picked up a spent bullet from the upper decks of the Fort Snelling. It was fired from ashore. And later on, the mailman got lost trying to pick up the mail ashore and crossed over past the Green Line, and he was fired upon by the rebels. A bullet went through the tailgate of the truck, front bed, center line of the cab, and impacted a 2-inch diameter hole in the middle of the dash, flying right between the driver and his passenger. The driver was so scared he wrecked the truck, a 1956 Chevrolet pickup truck. There was a repair shop with enough parts to fix the truck, so we got it back on board before departing the area. Years later, a friend of mine, Mr. Ed Higdon of Decatur Engravers, learned that I was in Lebanon when he was a part of the Marine Force landing there in 1958. He said, "You left me on the beach and you went on liberty to Greece." While the Fort Snelling visited ports of France, Greece, Spain in 1956, I was able to go to Rome and visit the Vatican. One of the most interesting things was visiting St. Peter's and seeing the statue of Moses. You may note that Moses' statue has horns. Horn was a translation of halo. While we were in Rome, we went to the catacombs. We had a priest leading the group, about 20 sailors, and we had a bus driver following along last. I had a flash camera, was taking photos of anything I thought interesting. And about midway in the line of sailors, somebody took a wrong turn and became separated from the priest. He stopped and announced that he was lost. Then the bus driver started shouting for the padre, and he said to me, "You make a bigger flash, we are lost. Padre, padre." The priest found us, and we were safely on our way. No good photos, I'm sorry. I was able to see the Parthenon at Athens, Greece. You may see an exact replica of it in Nashville, Tennessee. The only difference is it's made out of granite instead of marble. I wanted to go to ICB school, a year-long school, Interior Communications Electricians. They are the people that install and maintain and repair the equipment needed for communication within the ship and the shore facilities. These communication systems include the PA systems, telephones, alarm systems, engine order telegraphs, to communicate orders and changes in the speed of the bridge, the command station to the engine room. Certain kinds of ship control and equipment monitoring systems such as a gyro compass, a rudder angle indicator, an audio-visual system for the ship's entertainment system and navigation and other equipment. The ship could not send me because of shortfalls, so I mustered out of the Navy and went back to Kentucky. Tried to get a job with the phone company, but no luck. I found a job with the K.M. White Elevator Company in Louisville, Kentucky. I stayed with my Aunt Clara in an apartment room in Louisville. I didn't like the repetition of connecting wires to relays on the elevator controller, so I went to work at the Louisville Gas and Electric Company at the Paddy Run Generating Station in Louisville. I hated it because it was so dirty. It was a coal-powered generating station. I was introduced to Dixie Elaine Hornback, a farm girl from Upton, Kentucky, then a nurse at the Kentucky Baptist Hospital. Her schedule at the hospital meant limited opportunities to go on a date, but finally it was arranged and we went to dinner and a movie and saw The End of the Sixth Happiness starring Ingrid Bergman. We now watch it every wedding anniversary. Wow, I've seen that movie 60 times. We fell in love and plans were made to get married if I was able to get back into the Navy. I went to the Navy recruiter and asked if I could join up again. They were pleased to get me, and told me that they would get me to ICB school if I could pass the physical. I took the physical and almost failed. The doctor noted my inability to do sit-ups and called an assistant. They examined me closely and finally said, well, if it didn't bother me, they'd let me pass. Whew! I was accepted back in the Navy and given 30-day advance pay, 30 days leave with orders to report to ICB school in Great Lakes. With this good news, Dixie and I made plans, and we were married on the 15th of August, 1959, in the Oak Hill Baptist Church in Upton, Kentucky. After a brief honeymoon, we went to Gatlin, Tennessee. We made our way to Waukegan, Illinois, carrying everything we owned in the trunk of our 1959 Chevrolet automobile, Impala, white. We found a one-bedroom apartment and shared the bath with Mr. and Mrs. Boyer, an elderly couple from Liberty, Missouri. He was a contractor for the VA and was building the VA hospital in the area. My goal in ICB school was to graduate in the top 3 of my class. There were 2 men who were very sharp, and they beat me by a few points. I was 3rd in my class. In July 1960, I was assigned to the Naval Radio Station, Cheltenham, Maryland, as a landline technician. And that ends this day's report on the first 4 years of my Navy career. Thank you for your time. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.